Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Zoo Cruise My Story podcast. My name is Heather, and I am an alcoholic. Please be sure to subscribe, like, share, and comment on our videos so that YouTube will send them out to alcoholics looking for recovery. Today we have Cathleen sharing her recovery story and experience, strength, and hope with us. She is going to tell us in a general way what happened, what it's like. She is going to tell us what it was like, what happened, and what it's like now. Please keep in mind that this will be going on an Alcoholics Anonymous website. So without further ado, I do give you Cathleen. Please start off by telling us your name, location, and sobriety date.
Okay, I'm Kathleen D. I'm in Connecticut and I'm a recovering alcoholic and addict. My sobriety date is December 28th, 2012. And I wanted to share today, thank you for having me, first of all. I wanted to share today to tell you how it was, my experience, strength, and hope with AA and with my drinking and my dry goods usage. Um, I started drinking and actually I started stealing when I was 14 years old. I just kind of remembered that um, through some therapy and stuff. And I was, an addict, right from the beginning, since I was 14 years old, stealing money from the YMCA where I used to work, which is a horrible thing I did. But I don't want to go into morbid reflection. I'm just going to tell you some facts about the highlights of how bad I was an alcoholic and drug addict. And, I um, was out there for 30 years. I started when I was 17. I don't remember my first drunk. I did it with some friends, but I don't remember what happened or what I drank. I know I was about 16 or 17. That's all I remember. I probably blacked out. I was a blackout drinker all the time. Every single time I drank, I was a blackout drinker. And so I don't remember a lot of my 20s and 30s, which is horrible. But that's okay. I'm sober today, and that's all that matters. Thank God I have the Zoo Crew, my higher power, my sponsor, meetings. I give service. I do service. I give back. So anyway, let me get back to how it all started. I grew up in a loving home, but it wasn't really um, talked about the love, which was I was kind of invisible. My sister was the oldest. I had two older sisters and a younger brother, so I was kind of in the middle. And I did not like that. I would put band-aids on myself to see, and when there weren't any cuts, to see if people would notice how I was and if I was hurt. And that was, a pretty bad thing to do, but I wanted attention so bad. That's what I did. I think my mom told me twice in her life that she loved me, once on my first wedding day and the next when she was dying. And my dad, I don't know if he ever told me. I don't really remember, to be honest with you. Um, I used to blame my mother. I was drinking right from the get-go very hard. And I used to tell my mom, I used to blame my mom for everything. My mom did the best that she could. She worked full time. So did my dad. We lived in a middle-class family and grew up in a middle-class family. And my sister and my brother and I are all alcoholics. My brother joined the program 3 years ago. I've been here over 13 years. And my sister has been in the program for 32 years. And my other sister, um, when I was 6 months sober, my other sister died, the second sister. She was legally blind. She took a lot of my parents' attention because she was legally blind. They would bring her to doctors all over the world in Connecticut. And so a lot of their attention and devotion went to her, which it should have been. She was blind and legally blind. But, that woman, before she died, she got her master's degree in social work and was a wonderful social worker. And she went to college and got her 4-year degree. And that's a lot of reading for somebody who's blind. So I give her so much credit. We were very close, and she never judged me, even with all the drinking and drugging and the lying and the stealing and the cheating that I did. I lied to everybody in my family. I always lied to everybody, no matter what it was for. I used to borrow money all the time. I'm paying my brother back now, um, every month because I owe him so much money. And it's embarrassing. Um, but I don't live in morbid reflection. He doesn't need the money. The point is I took responsibility for myself. So I'm kind of jumping around here. I apologize. But I drank. I went to three rehabs. None of them worked because I wasn't ready to go. It wasn't my decision. I got arrested when I was 35 years old for a bar fight with my husband, my second husband. Let me backtrack a little bit. I've been married twice and divorced twice. I have two stepchildren. They're in their 30s now. One of them talks to me, one of them doesn't. I did a lot of damage when I was in my first marriage. My husband ended up to be a heroin addict, so I divorced him after 5 years. I had to sneak out of the house literally to get out into my own apartment because he took the keys from me for the car and everything. So it was a really bad experience. He was a really bad heroin addict at the end. Um, and I met my second husband a couple months after I was divorced from my first husband, and we got together right away. I met his kids, they were 2 and 4. It was supposed to be 50% joint physical custody, and it ended up to be that we had the kids all the time. Um, and that was a lot of stress on our marriage. But I quit drinking. I drank until I was probably 38, I guess, 3 years into the um, marriage of my second marriage. And I quit drinking. I went right to dry goods. And I did that because I didn't want the withdrawals of alcohol. So I went right to dry goods. And, that was not any better. I did that for another 15 years. That's why I say I'm an alcoholic and an addict. Um, and it was bad. I was bad. I was a really bad drunk. Like I said, dry drunk. Also, try to go to the program, the AA program every once in a while, but I was drinking when I went, so I didn't do it sober. I had sponsors along the way, but I wasn't honest with them, so that didn't really matter. And I was drinking and not telling them, so that didn't really help me. And I'll tell you how I hit bottom. I was in a shelter, ended up in a shelter for 2 years. I got kicked out of my last sober house, and my sister picked me up, and she's like, "You're not coming home with me." And I got caught stealing medicine from my roommate. And I always got kicked out of sober houses, and it was the last one. And she brought me to the hospital and dropped me off. And I didn't have enough dry goods in me to stay to go to a program. So they called the social worker, and she brought me to a shelter in Meriden, Connecticut, which was horrible. I was there for 2 years, and I got a check for over $8,000, and I blew it all on dry goods. I didn't get out of the shelter. I should have gotten an apartment and get out. And that's when I hit bottom. That was my bottom. That's when I realized I can't do this anymore. And I didn't get out of the shelter. I didn't, get a car. I had a car, and yeah, I did have a car during that time. Yes. Okay. So, and I didn't get out of the shelter, and they let me back in. I was gone for 9 days. I blew all the money on dry goods and a hotel. And when I went back to the shelter, they let me in only because I told them what I did and where I was and how long I was gone for 9 days. Usually they don't let anybody back in, but there happened to be an empty bed. My room was still available. I got my own room after 3 months because I was working, kind of functioning, not really. So, I just did a lot of bad stuff. I was very bad. I was dishonest to my coworkers. I lost many jobs because of falling asleep or, not showing up or taking too much time off. And, I was an executive assistant, and I blew that career after 10 years because I was too bad off. All I wanted was alcohol and dry goods. So, and that's all I craved. That's all I craved. And as soon as that hit me, the alcohol, the dry goods, I was off and running, and that was it. That was the beginning of the end of every drinking and drug. And I used to leave parties all the time because I wanted to go home and drink like I wanted to. I didn't want anybody to tell me, and I used to drive drunk all the time. I didn't hit anybody or kill anybody, and I don't know how. I feel like I'm here for a reason, and that reason is to give back to AA and to support men and women and to sponsor women. And that's what I'm here for. That's what I do. And I do that to the best of my ability. I went from alcohol to dry goods to food to gambling, but we're not here about the last two. We're just here about the alcohol and dry goods. So I'll just talk about that. So I hit bottom and I ended up going to my first sober AA meeting the next day. I was in the shelter and they had an AA meeting on a Sunday morning. It was a Saturday night when I quit. And Sunday morning they were there and the AA, they brought AA meeting to the shelter. And I was so grateful that they did that. And I sat in my first sober meeting. I was going out to have a cigarette and I couldn't take it. But the greatest thing that happened to me was the obsession was lifted that night. And that was for my higher power, who I choose to call God, because no human being could have taken that obsession away from me. Because I thought, how am I ever going to live without alcohol and dry goods? How am I going to have any conversation with anybody? How am I going to talk? Am I going to have fun anymore? Am I going to be a dud? You know? And I'm here to tell you today that sobriety is the best thing I've ever done in my entire life. Um, I'm here to tell you that it was the best decision of my life at 46 years old to get sober. I wake up sober. I know what I did the night before. Every morning when I would get up, I'd look for my car to see where it was because I couldn't remember how I got home. I couldn't remember what highway I took. I couldn't remember what party I came from. I couldn't remember the last thing that happened. I used to have to call people all the time and find out what happened. It was embarrassing. It was awful. I was reckless um, because I have the addiction of alcohol and dry goods. Um, so I got out of the shelter. I got a job and I moved out to a hotel. And then I got an apartment and I screwed that up too. Um, but it wasn't because I was using, it was just because I was not doing the next right thing. Um, and I wasn't paying my bills and I got laid off from my first job one day after I moved into my new apartment. So that was horrible. But I'm here to tell you I went through sponsors. I was sober. I've been sober over 13 years and I was a dry drunk for 11 of them. I wasn't honest with everything I did because for step four, my biggest resentment was against me because I hurt so many people and I was so reckless, like I said. So finally, the last 2 years, I got a sponsor at the Zoo Crew actually. And I'm so blessed and I still have her today. And she's the one who brought me through every step and I've done all the steps now. I just have to make a couple amends, but overall, I've done all the steps. And my brother and sister are the amends I have to make in person. They don't live around here. Um, but anyway, I was so grateful that I'm sober today because I wake up knowing every single thing I did last night or every single thing I did during the day. I remember everything. I pray to my higher power all day long, which is God. And I try to share the message and not the mess. I try to, I get 10 to 15 texts every morning from the Zoo Crew from different women and men, and they're just wonderful to me. And I write back it to everybody or send texts or, emojis or whatever I need to do. Um, and it's so great to be sober. I'm meeting a bunch of sober people from the Zoo Crew actually this Friday, April 17th, I think is the date. And I'm so blessed to do that. That's part of one of the thrills I get from being in the Zoo Crew. And I've learned so much in the Zoo Crew, like we don't drink no matter what. There's so many things, so many workshops I've held and I've attended. The most important one to me is how to not procrastinate. That's one of my best workshops and the Zoo Crew offers that. Um, and I'm so grateful for that, because they really helped me with all of my addictions and also with all of my behaviors. Because it's not just about alcohol and drug, it's about your behavior. I came from my drinking and stayed for my thinking because my thinking was so bad. I just knew I needed the next drunk or drink, drug or drink. And that's all I cared about. Um, But luckily, like I said, I got sober at 46, and I'm so grateful I did. And I've been through all the steps, and I recommend that highly to everybody. I did the 1, 2, 3 shuffle. I was trying to sabotage myself because I don't feel like I deserve to be happy because of all the pain I caused everybody. And I think I still am thinking that I'm not living in morbid reflection, but my sister always says, you deserve to be happy. You deserve this. You deserve that. You deserve a bed. You deserve your apartment. You deserve everything. You've worked hard. And I did work for 30 years. I'm on Social Security disability. Not that that really matters, but I finally got that after 10 years of applying, literally, once I got a lawyer. But anyway, I'm so grateful for that. I got that too, and I was able to get my own apartment. And I'm so grateful for that. Um, The message is we don't have to do this alone. You don't have to do this alone. Nobody has to. I don't have to. We're open 24 hours as Zoo Crew. I do a lot of overnight meetings and I do a lot of meetings during the day. And I'm grateful for that. I'm so grateful that I'm part of the program. And when I first wanted to host meetings, I was so nervous and I screwed it up so bad. But it was a fear that I went through of public speaking because I don't like doing that. But it was a fear that I had to get over because I have fear from everything from the darkness, being afraid of the dark, to being afraid that I'm going to die alone. And I don't like that feeling. So I'm working on all of my character defects through all the steps. And I pray, and I give them to God to take them away from me. I pray every day that He keeps taking the character defects away. I don't think I'll ever be without character defects. Procrastination is one of my worst. And I try to work on that every day. I try to work on self-care every day. I try to love myself every day because I still don't think that I deserve uh, pure happiness, even though I really do, and I know that. And part of me knows it, part of me doesn't, is what I'm saying. Um, so I have to love myself more and remember that I do deserve happiness, and I am doing the next right thing every time I turn around. And I think about a drink or a drug every once in a while if I'm in pain because I have chronic pain all over. And every once in a while I think about it, but I don't act on it. And I don't know anybody who has anything, thank goodness. So I'm grateful for that. Um, the message is basically, like I said, to be sober. You don't have to do this alone. You don't have to. I don't have another recovery in me. I never want to go back to drinking or dry good. And I think about that every time I want to drink. I go to the end of where I hit bottom and how bad I was. And I could end up in another shelter. There's no doubt in my mind I could blow all my money on gambling or dry goods or alcohol. And I don't want to do that today. Thank God I am recovered or in recovery, I should say. There's no cure for alcoholism. So I'm recovering every day. And I'm just really grateful for that. Um, and I'm grateful to be sober today. And I know what I did yesterday and today. And just remember, you don't have to do this alone. I can't stress that enough. So I think that's all I want to share on. So thank you for letting me share today.
Thank you for sharing your story with us today, Kathleen. I'm sure our members will enjoy listening to it. Have a great day and keep trudging the road of happy destiny. We hope you enjoyed listening to the story and have subscribed and liked our videos. Please feel free to also share our videos along with our website and podcast link. Our website is www.thezoocrew.org.